Okay. Oh, dope. Fresh.
Ooh. Yo, what's up, bro?
What's up,
Can you hear
Rakim?
me?
I can hear you.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
I bet we are in business.
Yeah, man. Shit, man. But definitely, man, we about to commence with this interview. Gonna let the people know who you are and what it is that you do. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Cool, cool.
Yeah. Pretty much giving, you know what I mean, your backstory, how you got into like spirituality and consciousness and just, you know what I'm saying? Just development.
All right. Hey, so okay. So I guess first of all, hold up. I gotta hold up.
Yeah,
To get it started
yeah.
off right. Let's get it started off right.
Yeah, it's all right. You gotta like that. You gotta like, oh shit. Like I had to my band, so
Yeah. I mean, honestly, um, I could. All right. So like, let's. I don't know. All right. So as far as like my start with spirituality, I mean, I feel like there's never really like a beginning or ending as far as something like that goes. But I would have to say like I started meditating when I was like 19. I smoked weed for the first time when I was like 18, and basically I've just been like going with everything like in that kind of manner since then.
hmm
And I feel like we have to define spirituality first, and that's like really
yeah,
important. And
yeah.
yeah, for me, spirituality is like anything that like makes me like feel good and whole and more complete as a person. You feel me? Um, so I guess like on my path, I've incorporated like a lot of different
hmm
aspects of what that might mean to me,
Yeah.
which has included like
Probably some of the
psychedelics
memorize
and
you just join in. Got one viewer.
no, I don't even know what to do with my hands right now. I think that's the symbol. Hey, what's up? Um,
Neptune.
Oh, it's nice to meet Memorize. Really, I haven't had a chance to meet you yet, but I always like see you posted and stuff, and I do like check your posts out sometimes. So,
Yeah.
shout out.
Be
Uh,
dropping.
school of insight.
Mm-hmm.
So, so my path is kind of like, uh, started since like before birth, and it'll continue after, and I think that's the same for everybody. If you believe in that sort of thing, because I feel like we also create each and every one of us. We create our own reality. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just yeah, and your belief system and the things you choose to really like, hold on to, like your core foundation, really helps construct that. And so that's really like something I try to hold close and dear is the idea that spirituality or spiritual living is kind of like the basis for living a good life and living a long life.
Mm-hmm.
Even hopefully, as I think a lot of like sages and philosophers and things like that have come before us, like to transcend um, death in a sense. Using spirituality as a base um, for your for yourself instead of, I guess, like a physical self. But that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
This kind of like, guys, I'm really nervous because like this is my first interview, and I've been really wanting to do this for quite some time. With our team,
Hey,
so
ain't nothing to be nervous about, fam. Shit. It's just niggas chopping it up for real, man. That's what school inside is. You know what I'm
cool.
saying? Shit. You know how niggas
So,
get down.
yeah, so I was also here to talk about a little bit about my book, and I'll go over
Yeah,
the topic.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely let them know about that shit, bro. That's what it's for.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I have the book is called Spiritual Synthesis. It's on Amazon. I had some copies. Um, and they're no longer with us. Let's say that. they're
Mm.
gone. Um,
Oh shit.
yeah, the
What?
information is really deep. We'll go into it now. So it's laid out in 13 chapters. The first chapter, of course, is where I started with my whole kind of inner inner exploration of of uh, let's say phenomenal sensation.
Mm-hmm.
So the first chapter is meditation, and basically like goes over simple techniques, postures for sitting, like lotus, and half lotus, and uh, you know laying down and reclining. Those are like the four kind of or five main aspects that I've gone over because those are the ones I experimented with when I was getting really deep into meditation. Actually, the uh, let's say like the cross-legged, the lotus position was like the one that I experimented or worked with the most because I felt like I realized that if you could meditate like sitting up and let's say maybe even in a uncomfortable state because that can be uncomfortable sitting like that for long periods of time, then you can ultimately train your mind. If you can achieve a sense of like calmness and then even an astral projection. I will say truthfully, I've not astral projected from a seated lotus position. You
Mm-hmm.
feel me? I've never done that. And like I have done it
Like
within
laying
like
down.
5 minutes. Like, huh?
Like laying down, like projected laying
And
down.
I've also used a pillow, like propped it up against the wall and sat like, just sat my back up against the wall and done that. Um,
Okay.
Yeah, I also go over that in the book, like using something to support your back, like to lean up against or a cushion while you're meditating, because that really helps alleviate the stress. Like the lotus position helps bring awareness, attentive awareness to the
Mm-hmm.
practice, so that you don't fall asleep and you have that kind of ritual to your practice.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the first quote in the book is sleep is unconscious meditation. Meditation is conscious sleep. That's the first
Yeah.
quote in the book. I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
one of the really big things about being able to reach these altered states of consciousness without like I would say drugs or psychedelics or any shamanistic tools is being
Yeah.
able to straddle that line between sleep and wakefulness, and that's what I feel like that's why we see like Buddhist monks doing that because they're trying to get their mind to go to sleep, but they want to keep their body awake, and that position keeps your body awake. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
after that, if you can master that position and get comfortable, then really it's just a matter of time. You really want to fall asleep, and really, honestly, it's just a matter of time. You just have to sit there. That's all it is. Just sitting there and be like, don't fall asleep. And if you
Mm-hmm.
do that for like 10, 12, the longest I've ever meditated for, I would say like in that specific position would be maybe 2, 3. I would say like 4 or 5. I would say the highest, like if I were to like throw a number out there, would be 6 hours. But comfortably, I would say like 2 or 3 hours, like 2 hours, like comfortably, I would say two.
Oh,
But I
all
would
right.
do that. Yeah, I would do that like 2 or 3 times a day at one point. You feel me? Like 4 or 5 times a day. Like you know, that's an exaggeration. Excuse me. That is an exaggeration. But like 1 or 2, 3 times a day, I'll be doing that. So that was back in like 2010, and that's how the book starts out. Is basically it's kind of like starting that meditation all the way up until astral projection and kind of like self realization, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And the steps that I took to get to that point for me personally. And I'm trying to, and yeah, and it has a scientific merit. There's a lot of research that has been done, books. I also have conducted, trials with, I would say, friends and family and stuff like that. And I wouldn't say
Yeah.
like they, yeah, things like that. So, experimenting with ayahuasca, which is there's a plants section of the book. We'll get to that. But
Mhm.
so that's how the book starts out in meditation. The next chapter is yoga. Now there's in the yoga chapter there's three asanas. There's three asanas, and they're really actually no, it's not three asanas. Excuse me, I apologize. It's actually the entire sun salutation, which is basically like your morning stretches basically. And
Yeah.
yeah, one thing I found out I found really interesting about yoga, which is why I put the sun salutation. I didn't expound ridiculously on it, is
Hmm.
because I feel like you can do yoga like all day, every day. You like when you're sitting down, like just stretch. In the morning, stretch. If it's not just it's not stretching. It's the quote that I put in the book is yoga is the dance of life. That's what I put. So it's incorporating everything in your entire life and making it a
So
rhythmic dance.
union with
Yes.
creation. Yeah.
Whew. Hey, Nico did so much better than I did. So now tell Nico I said, hey, shout out Nico as well. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out his interviews, the first one in the School of Insight, scroll down and check it out. He definitely, Nico is somebody that actually I got a lot of astral projection information from.
Hmm.
It's regrettable we don't talk as much as we used to, and I actually need to reach out to him, but I got a lot of
Man,
information from the
business.
guy because he was doing it. I feel like a lot more heavily before I was,
Hmm.
but yeah, and that's one of the reasons I actually put the book out there. I'm speaking now is because having somebody that's done the practices and just having that energy, not even having them to instruct you, just having that energy near you,
Yeah,
can drastically help. Yeah, in a process. So
definitely,
or
man.
interacting with that energy. Uh, so the next chapter in the book is yoga, meditation, yoga. I think there's like diet and exercise is really
Hmm.
important. Um, Hold on, let me check and make sure. So yeah, Rakim, how have you been? How's everything? I know you just get, know,
Man,
you just
everything is
getting in.
good, man. Life just be moving, bro. I just be moving with that shit, bro. A lot of crazy shit be going on, I tell you that, but
I heard
all is
about that.
good,
I heard about that actually.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah, I ain't gonna discuss that shit on this live though, but definitely not though. But yeah, man, shit should just keep moving. But yeah, man, like shit. Definitely, what's the deepest meditation you ever been in? Like, what's the like most profound
oh
experience you
man,
ever had?
whoa! All of my most profound meditations have happened on the astral plane. Like to describe the astral plane, so we can like get to the basics of it. It's literally like walking around in your
Hmm.
physical body in your imagination, like a world that's completely made out of your imagination. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. So I remember one time specifically. It's probably been two times that I vividly remember uh, meditating in a dream, like sitting down and like, all right, I'm gonna meditate, on the astral plane, and and really what happened is like what I experienced was total and complete serenity the second that I closed my eyes. Like that space that I'm sure you've experienced that space, or I'm sure that some people have experienced the space where when you're meditating, you get like so deep that you're basically just like floating in space, like a void of
Hmm.
pure
Right. Like can't even,
selflessness.
yeah, can't even really
Yeah,
describe
and
that
that's
shit.
what it feels like. That's what it feels like. And
Hmm.
I've also had because I've done LSD a few times, and I've had LSD visuals spill over into my dreams, and I actually like witnessed that, and it's like really profound because like in the physical world, like, you get like these kind of like saturated colors and everything, and in the dream world, it was like everything was
Mm.
like
Just like
it's almost indescribable. But I'll try it. It's
like real super HD and shit, right?
not super HD. Let's say like um if you look like what I was looking at when I was in the dream,
Mm.
when I was in the dream, I was kind of like I was looking at a building. And I say like all the bricks are like shifting and moving, but the
Mm.
building is still like stable and it's not like it's not
Yeah.
compromising
Damn.
the structural integrity at all. But like the whole thing is like shifting and moving, and it's just looking at it. But um, you
That's
have to have
crazy.
done yeah, you have to have done like LSD to like get the idea of like shifting and moving visuals on the surface. Um,
Mm.
but that's exactly what it's like, but like more pronounced, more pronounced,
Okay.
and I would say a lot more like colorful. But the reason I'm so adamant about astral projection is because it really takes away like the need, not the need, but it as far as like entertainment, what psychedelics and plants provide, like astral projection can provide that like times 20,
Mm.
Um, but it's really all about preference. All life is 100%, 100 and I would say, it's possible to have 1,000% infinite
Yeah.
percentage of preference. It's all about preference. So that's what I just
Mm-hmm.
gravitated towards it. I really liked it, and I definitely am planning to continue to explore astral travel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just looking for a catalyst to kind of uh, share the experience with others without having to go through the months of training that I went through. Um,
Yeah.
or at least help to give them like to give people kind of like a tool that will kind of like get them over any disbelief that they might have about their ability to
Yeah.
have this experience. Yeah, and what
Yeah.
I've come up with is yeah, but that's a conversation for another day. I'm still trying to. I'm pulling up this the book on Amazon right now because I really want to share this.
Bet. Shit, man. So like, how many like can you, if you could count, like how many times have you astral projected?
I was okay. So the first time I had an astral projection was actually like October. It's 2008, 2012. It was like 2013 actually. So it's been
Mm-hmm.
5 years. I had on average when I first started astral projection, I had on average I would say one every 2 weeks for a year. Let's say that. Like
Mm.
that's a fair number. And I
Damn,
say
that's
I
crazy.
mean, yeah, let's say for like 2 years. But that's a fair number. But
Mm-hmm.
again, like I would have 2 or 3 astral projections in a night. Like I would leave
Mm-hmm.
out, like, let's say like leave out from my body, have an out of body experience, leave out, go travel around, and let's say I would meet like I would like usually like there's like a lot of women sometimes, so I would like meet a female or something, and then I would like get distracted and end up losing my concentration and end up back in my body. And then
Mm-hmm.
what I would do then is remain like completely calm, just be like, all right, cool, don't move, because that's basically the state that I find myself in. I was like, all right, just relaxing. It would happen again. Maybe I go to sleep for an hour, and then an hour later it would happen again. And sometimes I would get like somebody would tug on my leg, which is really interesting. I've really been trying to get behind that sensation and figure out what that is. It's like sometimes like actually this didn't start happening until like about I would say maybe like 6 months to like a year after I first started astral projecting. Usually at first I would float out, and then after a while I would get a tug on my leg, like somebody would like pull me, and it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be like anything wild. It would just be like a slight pull, like maybe like to get me. Like let's say I'm laying in bed, they would pull my foot like maybe like a foot, like maybe like a foot down from my body, and it would just like separate me. and
Mm-hmm.
it would basically be like a spirit like pulling my astral body out, and then
Yeah.
they were like, "Oh, you're out," and I was like, "All right, bet, thanks." Like that helped because floating out, it takes
Mm-hmm.
a little longer because you have to remain really still and really quiet for your sort of like float out. But
Mm-hmm.
and that might take maybe 30 seconds, whereas this person like helping me might take like 10, to 20 seconds, and that 10-second difference makes a hell of a fucking lot, a lot, like a lot.
Sweet.
Okay,
Shit.
so all right, excuse me, I apologize. I didn't mean to
I'm
interrupt.
not straight, man. Shit. I was gonna ask you too, like, have you ever accessed the Akashic records in the astral plane?
That's interesting. Okay, my take on the Akashic records is this. I feel like the Akashic records, or the way I first came upon the idea, actually
Mm-hmm.
was around the time that we first met. Maybe it was around that time. It was definitely around that time. So the idea is that the Akashic records is this library. It could be a library, and I would say just as far as like a library is concerned, the definition I'm referring to is a place with a wealth of information, knowledge, and wisdom, or at least information, right?
Yeah.
And yes, the astral plane has information, and yes, you can kind of glean information about the physical world from the astral plane, but you can
Mm-hmm.
also glean information in the present time in the same way. It depends on like what your intention is. I think if you're speaking of going into different dimensions as such as the astral plane and the causal plane and the higher spiritual planes, um like how you want to use that information. But yeah, like short answer, yes. But I believe that all of reality for me is the Akashic records because all of it contains information that I need in order to function and move on to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Word. Yeah, I like that. I like that interpretation very much. So that shit makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I also want to ask too, like, do you feel that mindfulness can aid or is pretty much like helpful to astral projection, like maintaining mindfulness?
of course. I believe so, yes. I believe
Word.
so. The thing with mindfulness and the way it applies to astral projection, uh, as far as not only having, well, yes, of course. The shortest answer as far as applying mindfulness to astral projection is to be mindful
Mm-hmm.
of the will to astral project, and then be mindful of the follow through with the steps that have already been laid out by people who have done it, and mindful of the actual application of those methods and mindful of your practice. Like that's mindfulness in astral projection. That's a specific application of mindfulness to astral projection. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, a more I guess a situational approach to having it would be I guess if like if you're laying in bed, you want to like apply mindfulness to in order
Mm-hmm.
to induce the astral projection. What you really want to do is just like be it's hard to say be mindful because the mind has its own kind of it has its own mind. Like
Yeah,
we have to
exactly.
yeah. That's really why like I really get into shamanism and plants because it has a lot to do with biology and chemistry and I feel like that's having plants like mugwort that's a plant that's talked about in the book and that has thujon in it. Thujon is kind of like that's what's in absinthe. So that's why they say like it helps like give it a psychedelic like feel. But anyways, what it does really
Mm-hmm.
is what it does is brings alertness and attentiveness to the mind. which I don't know exactly how it does this, but the chemical basis of it, um, that's that. I'm sorry, I can't like get really into it because I don't want to embarrass myself. So
What you
um,
mean, bro?
but no, okay, so mugwort has stewed in it, wormwood has stewed in it, and they use that as an astral projection kind of thing because it brings attentiveness to the mind, right? And
Mm,
it might enhance REM sleep. But the way I think of it is, let's say you're meditating and like you're falling asleep, but you have like this little kind of a chemical component or like a helper like in your brain that's like helping you like stay awake. You feel
yeah.
me? That's why that's where the plants come in. That's where like you can you have kind of like a friend or a helper or somebody on your team to say like this is my intention, and you have something to kind of back you up on that intention. You feel me?
Mm,
And there's plants called Mexican dream herb, and that's specifically what they do. You feel me?
yeah.
These shamans and shamanesses and witch doctors and
Mm,
voodoo priests and priestesses, like they're not using these plants for no reason. They're not calling them this and saying like this is what it does for no reason. Like that's what the fuck it does. And it almost
yeah.
brings me to tears, bro. Like, cause it's what it fucking does. Like, um,
Mm,
ayahuasca and stuff like that. Like, like they say, like, oh, this is a spiritual healing,
plant, yeah.
psychological healing plant and a medicine. And
Mm,
Western culture, like, we throw it in the trash because we're like, oh, there's no science and stuff like that.
yeah.
And I can tell you, living testament, like this shit is true. Like, you've known me for a long time. You've seen like that I've
Mm,
gone on a path of experimentation with the plants and drugs. You feel me? And it's damn, where was I going with that? Where was I going with that?
nah, it was just talking
And I
about
can
like,
tell you I can tell you on a first hand basis, like,
yeah,
it's not bullshit. Like it's true. Like, I would say the LSD, for anybody listening, LSD is definitely 70s. Definitely because I would leave it in the 70s. That's what I mean by that. Because
yeah.
it's half chemical and it's half natural. It grows from it's like a mold that grows on a bread. And the way they found this out, I think like maybe in the 1500s or something like that, people like were eating the bread and they end up going crazy, but it's a psychedelic experience. Albert
Mm,
Hoffman was using it to synthesize something for uh, a treatment for some psychological issue or something of that nature. Um, and
hey,
so yeah,
my
so the point, yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah,
The point is that
he asking you a question right now. He want to know how you feel about Kush and dreaming because he said you gotta have a lot of willpower to remember your dreams if you smoke hella weed and shit.
yes.
Like, advice on
I'm gonna answer the question. Let me finish with the LSD thing real quick, and I'm gonna hop over to that. If you don't
word
mind.
up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what I would say about LSD is, as opposed to other shamanistic methods of entering spiritual revelations, if that is your intention, um, I try to I would suggest like leaning towards more 100% natural stuff, like mushrooms, mescaline, like peyote, ayahuasca, amanita muscaria, Mexican dream herb. Just because those things are more um, symbiotic with the human body because we
Yeah.
come from the earth. You feel me? So that was my takeaway. Like I said, I've done a lot of experimentation, and
Mm,
some of it is to help harm reduction with others. And so
yeah.
that's my takeaway from that, and that's my advice. As far as cannabis and dreams, I'm sure you noticed I smoked a lot. I smoke a lot of marijuana, and that's not an accidental thing. That's actually to help me keep me from astral projecting and dreaming, right? Not to keep me. Actually, it's not to keep me from astral projecting and dreaming. It's to keep me from remembering my dreams and my astral projection right now. You feel me? Because the thing about marijuana and dreaming is you're going to dream most likely. 99% of the time you're going to dream. That's been my experience.
Absolutely.
Or what I've seen and what I've witnessed and what my research is telling me is that THC inhibits the transition of short-term memory into long-term memory, right?
Mm.
So when you get back to your body, so to speak, from your dreams and your astral projections, you want to download that information really quickly back into your long-term memory, or if you want to be more esoteric about it, kind of your physical body, right?
Mm.
THC kind of doesn't allow that to happen as efficiently and effectively as it could, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's the only reason. That's the thing about marijuana and dreaming is it don't let you download your dreams as efficiently as you could. You feel me? Like when you
Mm.
wake up from most dreams, you have a good 30 seconds. If you're not training yourself to remember your dreams, because that's a really big part of this too, is really training yourself to remember by writing down your dreams, like keeping a dream journal. Or
Yeah.
I would recommend. That's why I use plants and stuff because and supplements because it helps give your brains the nutrients that it needs to be able to effectively, uh, transition those memories from short term to long term. And especially like
Mm.
when you use certain plants and certain things with a certain intention, then it compounds the effect because it's saying like I'm using these plants and these supplements specifically to remember my dreams, specifically to help enhance my astral projections, and they do that because we exist on a spiritual, biological, chemical, psychological, and emotional basis, and so that all interacts with each other.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so THC, but I have something that can combat that. Oh my goodness, this is a lot. So the next chapter of my book, jeez, for real, man. For real.
Information. Oh.
All right. So okay, so the third chapter is actually pranayama, breathing. I actually got this from Nico. Oh, also, I didn't even put my moniker as Nighttime Guru. You guys can follow me on Instagram, like YouTube.
Yeah.
Um,
Look at that
everything is
though.
Nighttime Guru. Website, everything. Uh,
Mm.
if you really want to like find everything, like as far as uh, all this information and my trying to get in contact with me or whatever easily, just type in Nighttime Guru on Google. Anything that pops up, contact me through there. Phone number, anything, email, YouTube, Twitter, anything like, I'm available. I'm not 100% available, but I'm making myself available. I hope you guys
Yeah.
really enjoy it. Um, so pranayama breathing. Pranayama really helps with like getting the energy centers like flowing in the body. As far as like it really helps with just like centering the mind. Like it really, really, really helps like a good 20, 30 minutes of like breathing and doing like long deep breaths and like eventually um I'm sure you've experienced this. I'm sure you've experienced this, Rakeem.
Oh yeah.
Where like you're doing like a deep meditation, it gets to the point where like you're holding your breath for like 45 seconds, like 60 seconds, and you're basically like in heaven. You feel me? Like that's like once,
Mm.
yeah, like yes, and I think like that's really important because astral projection is supposed to feel like really good, and when you like accumulate a lot of those good, ethereal feelings, then it's just like aligning yourself with that vibration that's really going to help you, you know,
Mm.
uh, that's really going to help us all ascend to that level of reality. This is
Yeah.
going to be like a really deep interview because I actually haven't been astral projecting for a while, and actually I did it tonight for a
Sure.
quick thing for the interview, but it was like a short astral projection. Like astral projection is literally like this. This is what it is. Just close your eyes, imagine yourself doing something, And then astral projection is close your eyes and you're really actually fucking doing that thing. That's what it is. That's what it is. So I did like a quick, like, it was more like a visualization, right? So I was
Yeah.
wondering, like, yeah, that, okay, I won't even get into it. But that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what the fuck it is. It's close your eyes, imagine yourself doing something, but you're actually doing it. And I've actually had astral projections where I was laying down and I closed my eyes and I opened my eyes. And this is like a fucking 3 second moment. And I was somewhere else and I was like, holy shit, it happened that fast. Like,
Mm.
because usually sometimes I float out of my body. That's usually how it happens. But this time I literally like was laying down in a room in my I stayed with my grandmother at the time. That's embarrassing. I didn't want to say, but I stayed with my grandmother
Mm-hmm.
at the time, and I was laying down and I closed my eyes. I was in the room and I closed my eyes and I opened my eyes and I was standing on a pier like
Mm-hmm.
in a parking garage actually overlooking a pier. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, dope. And then I'm thinking like, oh, I need to like, I want to explore this place, and I don't want to explore this parking garage. The pier looks like it's populated. When I astral project, I would like to interact with entities like that are animated. Because I would say like, you can probably talk to an inanimate object, and it might have some form of intelligent thought.
Yeah.
Not to say that I've done that. I've never done that, but I'm saying it could happen. But I
Mm-hmm.
really like to interact with animate, entities that have intelligent thought when I'm on an astral plane, just to figure out like, can I glean some information about our circumstances as human beings, or can I get some insight uh, into my current situation, or can I bring back some knowledge that we don't have on a physical plane? Kind of like just like a sneaky like way to
Yeah.
beat
Good.
the Matrix and made like a quick million, like, oh my god, like this entity from another dimension told me like, this, to invent this or like to do this, and
Yeah.
and I made $1 billion or something like that, So I do go and try to talk to as many like human beings and stuff like that as possible when I'm on the astral plane, and other entities. I've seen like other entities, but I try to block that out of my experience because it can be traumatizing, like seeing an actual look like the extraterrestrials on television. You feel me? Uh, so anyways, because I've met, I've had like dreams that were like you'll have like dreams that are like right on the border of lucidity, where you're like, I think I'm awake, but I can't tell if I'm awake or not. And I've met like children of mine. I felt like that was my intuitive feeling that they were my
Mm-hmm.
children, and they were part extraterrestrial, and they had kind of like an amphibious look about them. They were humanoid, but they had like an amphibious look about them, and it kind of freaked me out. So I haven't really been running into many
Entities and shit. Damn, that's interesting.
amphibians, since that experience. But I'm looking forward to doing so. But I'm taking my
Mm.
time with that. I'm 26. I've been heavily astral traveling since I was, 20, like 21, 22, and experimenting with psychedelics and traveling and doing yoga. So it's been,
Well,
um,
hell, no.
it's been it's been a very
Yeah.
interesting experience. And I wanted to continue. I just want to kind of reel the reins in and get a solid foundation on the things that I've already implemented before moving on to new things, or even trying to. I can't even explain how you feel
Yeah.
about cushion dream. You got
Yeah.
some real
Yeah.
power.
Same type of dream.
Yeah. So yeah, like man, Raj, I apologize, man. I'm sitting over here, but to my own horn. I'm just like really excited about this, but man, Raj, okay, so cushion dreams, like I said. Oh, that's what I was really trying to get back to. Cool, thank you. Um, okay, so the kind of anti or the solution for cannabis and wanting to implement that in your practice and also have lucid dreams and astral projections, or at least have an increased dream recall so you can build upon that foundation to have lucid dreams and astral projection. There's a supplement. It's called galantamine. It's an extract from a plant, right? And it's really interesting because it was mentioned in Odysseus. Um, he apparently I haven't read it, but I keep hearing the story, and I'm trying to recollect it as clearly as possible. So what the story is that Odysseus and his men, they become trapped on this island, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Odysseus and his men are like turned into pigs. I believe it is the way the story goes. And he feeds them. He makes it like a tea or some kind of brew from this flower or this plant or this herb, and he feeds it to them. And one of the plants that it's um, thought that he fed to his men is called the red spider lily plant, and the extract that comes from this plant is called galantamine. Anyways, he fed them the brew. They remember who they are, and they came back to normal. So the extract is called galantamine, and what galantamine does is it. Okay, there's okay. So let's say so what galantamine does is it stops acetylcholine from breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
Acetylcholine is associated with memory, right? So we have this thing called acetylcholinesterase, and um, galantamine is acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. Now, what acetylcholinesterase does is acetylcholine is our memory, right? And acetylcholine breaks it down, um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and especially when we're dreaming, right?
Yeah.
So what galantamine does is it shuts that down. So let's say, so galantamine shuts that down. So you have all this acetylcholine, all these memory molecules or
Yeah. Neural.
neurochemicals, and because acetylcholine is shut down, acetylcholinesterase is shut down. You have them, and it just builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up, and so now you have all this kind of neurochemical fuel to increase your short-term to long-term memory conversion, right?
Mm.
And they use this also. This works with people who have Alzheimer's. It helps them,
Mm-hmm.
convert their short-term and long-term memory. So that's an effective treatment right now for Alzheimer's, right? The interesting thing about it is it also accentuates your REM sleep.
Mm.
So not only are you getting kind of this memory
Retention.
enhancement,
Mm-hmm.
yes, enhancement and retention. Thank you, retention, but also you're getting an enhancement of that state where lucid dreams and astral projections happen. And this is not like a subtle state. It's like 100%, like 200% increase in REM activity.
Mm.
So it's huge. You feel me? And
Yeah.
I've used it myself. I've used galantamine, and I would say let's. I've used it, and it works. It works. If I want to have an astral projection, I would say I would write down my dreams. I would use this supplement. You know, at 2, 3, maybe like 4 in the morning. Usually we have like our sleep cycle, and you wake up, one time during the night for some random ass reason, once or twice. You might be going to the restroom, you feel me? But you will wake up some random ass time. Usually, you know, I say I sleep 7 nights a week, right? Out of maybe like 3 or 4 of those nights, you'll wake up, and this is I'm saying this because like you want to astral project like 3 or 4 times, um,
Mm.
3 or 4 nights a week. Maybe 7 nights, but it can get overwhelming. But anyways, let's say you wake up in the middle of the night, and for some random ass reason you don't know why, and you're writing down your dreams, or you program your intention. You take this pill. You're gonna. I feel it in about 30 minutes. Usually I take the pill and I open it. Because like if you take a pill and it might not dissolve in your stomach, so you might not get the active ingredients. So I will open the pill just to
Mm-hmm.
make sure I'm not wasting any of my money. right?
Yeah.
So so the idea is take the pill and usually fill it. And I would fill in about 10, maybe 15 minutes. Peaks in about 45 minutes, and it has a half life of 7 to 8 hours. So um, that means like half of it is going to be out of your system in about 8 hours. If you use the restroom, so it's pretty safe. Um, you might get a headache if you take too much, but that's about it. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
anyways, I feel it, and what I feel like is kind of like energized sensation. But once you're like going to sleep and doing it, you're kind of like your REM sleep like kicks in like full gear. You kind of like get this
Mm-hmm.
energized sensation. So you might feel this buzzing all over your body as you begin to astral project, but you're already kind of like in a sleep paralyzed state. If you wait for it to kick in like 10, 15, 20 minutes and you wake up, then and you take this pill, you should be, and you get back in bed, you should be asleep within like 15, 20, 30 minutes. And the pill is like, starting to work and do its magic. And it's enhancing your REM sleep. And then, you're most likely to astral project, have sleep paralysis, or find yourself in a lucid dream if it kicks in while you're in the middle of dreaming, not just starting to dream.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the very least, you will most likely have increased dream recall, more vivid dreams. Um, that's the same with mugwort, which has thujawn in it. But anyway, that's kind of like the cure for the cannabis epidemic. You feel me? As far as lucid dreaming is concerned, Dorantamine, the closest to see if glutamine, acetylcholinesterase inhibition could be the cure, or at least a positive step in the right direction towards keeping THC from affecting our astral projections, dreams, or our recall of either. So, the
Right.
fourth chapter of the book. Woo! We getting it. Oh my God, fucking it up, man. Thank you, Rakeem. Oh, hold on. Let me spark this day too. But like I said,
Yeah,
yeah.
my bad, John.
No, but really, I have this to kind of like stave off me like recalling my dream because I've um dreams, because astral projections, I feel like they stem from dreams. And we're gonna move past this in a second, but astral projections stem from dreams. Astral projections can be pretty fucked up. You feel me? Like,
Mm.
you've ever had a fucked up dream?
Like,
Like, actually, imagine like being aware and real and alive while it's happening. Like,
yeah,
I've seen this is a pretty vivid dream. I wouldn't say like I'm totally because I've astral projections and lucid dreams have been more or less scenes that I'm comfortable with and that I would imagine myself in if I were having a lucid dream or an astral projection. Um, but there is also a if you don't keep a tight rein on that, you might imagine something in your environment that you might not be totally positive about. Um,
yeah, kind of like a bad trip, if you will.
yeah, did you ask for? Did you ask? I'm sorry. Did you ask a question? Because I really forgot if you asked me a question.
Nah, but I do want to ask you like about sleep paralysis. Like for people that don't know, like is sleep paralysis a more
acting out that experience. Let me, put myself to sleep. Boom. Straight like that. That's exactly what it is. And when you find yourself like in sleep paralysis in that state, it's basically like your body's like, okay, the mind is still in that state. Will cooperate. Boom. Really, that's like an easy and quick explanation, and that's after years of astral projecting and actually having the experience and like reading, other people's experience on it. That's basically what it
Mm.
comes down to. Like it can get a lot more. It can get so esoteric, bro. But I'm really trying to keep it like, man, you took like the way we're talking right now is like we're
Mm.
on the astral plane now, because that's also like something that can happen. It's like living in it in real time. And I actually had that opportunity after like a few times to
Mm.
like leave, but I opted to stay. I definitely opted to stay because I'm like, and I would say like I was on a different plane, like let's say like a very like beautiful like heaven like place where like I remember I visited this one place. It was like it was like everything like 2,000 like 300 or some shit, like 2,000 like 4,000 like year 4,000 or some shit, and like the water was clean, like
Mm.
everything was so like clean and serene and stuff. And like I would be in a place like that, and I would have like an option to stay, but I would always be thinking like about my physical life here, and I'm like, damn, what about my family? One thing I would really be concerned about, like, what the fuck is gonna happen to my physical body if I stay here? Am I gonna be brain dead? Am I gonna be in a coma? Does that mean I die? Like, does that mean am I in my physical body right now? Like, am I just interdimensionally traveling? And I actually have no actual physical life at all, and I'm
Yeah.
completely
Like, you know,
so
hijack your body while you gone and shit.
yeah, yeah.
That sort of could happen too.
Let me see. Oh yeah, so I wanted to move on to actually like higher planes of consciousness.
Mm.
Normal dream, right? In sense, you have different bodies almost every time astral projection shoot. There's definitely appearance your astral body. I think okay, so in a normal dream, am I right in saying that you have different bodies almost every time? Um, okay, I would say
Question.
for
Good question, my gosh.
my personal experience, I would say I've had the same body, or more or less the same body, or at least the same consciousness, like conscious feeling and expression of myself.
Like, is it the same body?
Yeah, there is a definite appearance like to your dream body. Yes, it's the same body. It's the same exact body. Yeah, like it's the same body. It's a different consciousness. Like I would say it's the same body. Like, but if you're in a dream, you're more like sleepwalking, and if you're in a lucid dream or an astral projection, you're in the same body, but you're just awake. You feel me? But it is the same body, and the appearance, like it alters from time to time. Like if I'm looking at my hands, like my hands will like keep changing sometimes, or they'll be like see through. But for the most part, it it's the same physical form. It's more like a ghostly aspect, but I could change it if I wanted to. I could change it to like an animal. I can make myself
Mm.
bigger, make myself smaller, but for the most part, I'm I spend most of my consciousness as this representation. So that's usually how I represent myself on the astral plane. I would feel like most planes of consciousness as well, and I think other people would do the same. I feel like do you, Rakim? Like, do you experience yourself like in a dream, like usually in the same body, or
With most of my dreams, it's more so like it's just a screen of awareness witnessing all the events taking place and shit. Even though like I still be like whatever person I am and shit, that's experiencing or having what scenario occur, but mainly it's just that screen that's projecting. Like it's mainly that simultaneously. I don't really know how to explain that.
Yeah. So this is what you okay, man. This is weird because I've been working with you for a while, right? And I feel like what it is like you're interacting with that screen. Like that's what a lucid dream is. Like it's like you get to interrupt that real and like actually like take it and be like, all right, what do I want to do instead of like let me just watch it. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm interacting,
And
I'm doing what I want to do. So
mm-hmm.
that's what it is. It's like getting off that track, but so yeah, so
Word.
we're gonna keep moving because I wanna touch on something else that has to do with this topic as well. So chapter
Word.
4 of the book, Spiritual Synthesis, Systems for Astral Experience. And I keep harping on. I gotta keep touching back on the book because the name of the book is Spiritual Synthesis, Systems for Astral Experiences. Now it has like floating along, like it feels really fucking good. It's like inhabiting your heaven body. Like it feels so good. Interact with the serotonin receptors in your body, and serotonin in modern science is really thought of to be like kind of like the feel good neurochemical, and so that's what that's why there's like a really big correlation I think between psychedelics as well and like treatments for depression and stuff like that, and why I put it in the book because
Mm-hmm.
um, stuff like that. It helps you kind of embody that astral feeling, even when you're not on that plane. And I think um, psychedelics also give you kind of that mental um,
Spatial.
amusement. Huh?
Like it's more spatial awareness. Like
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does make it does give a certain kind of like fun to like spatial awareness because like it feels like sometimes when you take psychedelics, actually the last time I took it, it felt like all my atoms like had when you can really get behind your belief system with psychedelics really or that's what mine